In this video, we're going to focus on the middle and ending sessions, or termination. During the first session, we find out a little bit about what brings the client to counseling. They fill out some paperwork, and they go through an intake process where we gather some basic information about their demographics, their history, and whatever their presenting problem is. Most of the time, individuals come to counseling whenever they feel stuck in one or more areas of their life. A lot of people try to use their own coping mechanisms and support system in order to work out problems in their life. Whenever they feel as though they're not being successful using their own coping strategies or their own support system, they often turn to counseling services for help. Clients also present with a problem that feels pretty safe to address at first. This presenting problem is not always the underlying problem that is truly the cause of concern. Some of the underlying issues that may contribute to the presenting problem will come out in the middle stages of counseling. The middle stage is all of the sessions between the initial or first session and the final session or the termination session. It is an accomplishment to get someone to come back for a second session. A lot of times, people will show up for the first session and, for a multitude of reasons, may not continue after that. There's a large dropout rate after the second session. But if a client shows up for the second session, there's a stronger likelihood that they will continue counseling. If you were successful in the initial session with helping the client feel comfortable, welcoming, and building a strong rapport and starting to build trust with the client, then they will likely return for a second session. Another reason clients might not show up for a second session is if they start to really understand the counseling process a bit more and they realize they're just not ready to do the work. It may take a few sessions to collect enough information from the client to understand what is truly going on. This can happen extremely quickly, depending on the simplicity of the issue, how well the individual understands it, and how well the counselor is able to grasp it. Or this can take a lot longer if the client doesn't have the language to articulate it, or the understanding of it, or if the counselor is unable to grasp it. After the counselor and client know what the issue is that they will be focusing on, the counselor and client can begin to develop a deeper relationship in the middle sessions. The counseling relationship starts whenever the client and counselor begin to talk. At that point, a level of trust and rapport is developed, and this will create a solid foundation for the helping process. The therapeutic relationship is the relationship between the counselor and the client, and rapport is the strength of that professional relationship and the trust that exists between the counselor and the client. It's likely that during the middle stages, the concerns will shift from the external to the internal, meaning that we will help the client start to process the information and think about it in a way that connects their thoughts and feelings. During middle sessions, it is not uncommon for a client to come up against some issues that are really challenging for them and create some resistance in the therapeutic process. Also, there's a difference between process and content. Process is what is happening in the room, and content is the story. It's the words that express what's going on. There's a lot less structure in the middle sessions. Some relationships develop smoothly and quickly, but others take time and develop really slowly. There is no linear pattern for how the middle sessions flow, but some things that are common is slow progress, some boredom, resistance, a loss of motivation, lapses into old patterns of thinking or behavior, and ineffective attitudes. At times, clients may feel defeated, like they're not getting anywhere. It's important that if any of these things happen, that we bring it up in the counseling session and talk about it. If we are feeling like the client has slowed down or become resistant, they probably are feeling the same thing. And so it's important that we remain transparent and open and honest in our communication with clients, and that is also part of the therapeutic process. The amount of time that the middle session lasts varies based on a lot of different variables. Sometimes people only have a set amount of sessions available to them, and so they will use up all of their sessions, and then the termination process is already set for them. For example, the University Counseling Center has a set amount of sessions available to students. Therefore, students go into the counseling session knowing how many sessions they have and when to expect the last session. The last session is referred to as termination, or the ending of the helping process. It will happen at some point for every counseling relationship. But it happens for different reasons. Some common reasons are that the goals have been reached, the session limit is reached, clients feel like they've gotten the most out of it that they can for now, clients feel ready to function on their own without the support of counseling, clients may be referred to other helpers or services, the clients just decide to stop coming, or they feel like the process is no longer productive for them. We need to start talking about termination from the very first session. The final counseling session should never be a surprise to the client. In order to make sure that the client knows that they're not going to be dependent, they should not be dependent on the counseling relationship, we need to always make sure that they know that there is an end at some point. If we end the helping process too soon, clients may regress to earlier behaviors or patterns. And if it becomes too long, clients can become dependent on the helpers and really fail to grow and develop their sense of independence. There are strategies for assessing a client's readiness for termination, and it's important to be constantly assessing that along the way and talking about it with the client. When helping works as it is intended, clients experience positive change, which is the overall goal of helping. It's important that we instill hope throughout the helping process, while also not giving clients empty promises or promises that we can't keep. We can't guarantee that someone is going to feel like a new person or that we're going to work out every single one of their problems. These types of statements can be really damaging to the helping relationship. However, we can express to clients that through counseling, there's often significant growth and learning that happens whenever clients are invested in the process. There are positive changes associated with individuals who put a lot of work into the counseling relationship. They can feel a reduction of painful feelings, such as symptoms of depression and anxiety. They can have reduced stress, more happiness, better interpersonal skills and relationships, stronger, healthier connections with people, more empathy, more assertiveness, greater self-awareness, more self-confidence, more independence, better relationship building and problem solving, and healthier emotional expression. The middle sessions are where most of the work in helping occurs. Ending the helping process is a stage or phase of helping, a gradual conclusion to the work that the helper and client do. The goal is to help the client make a smooth transition from helping to their real-world life. We need to initiate, discuss, and agree on termination. Termination is not the decision of the counselor or the client independently, but together they work collaboratively to agree on what is the best course for termination. Also, as part of the helping process, both the counselor and the client need to deal with feelings about termination. The counselor will likely deal with their feelings in supervision. The counselor should not deal with their feelings about termination with the client. The client, however, can talk about their feelings about termination in the counseling session with their counselor. Also, it's important that we evaluate the overall helping process and we revisit progress. Often, if the counseling relationship has lasted for a long period of time, it's important to recap the amount of progress that a client has made. As you get closer to the final session, you also want to discuss maintaining goals, dealing with setbacks and future problems as they arise. And this can include leaving the door open for the client to return to counseling if needed. The final session should be more relaxed and can include a plan about follow-up. Follow-up can include a survey about the counseling services, a brief check-in, or a formal visit. This would all be decided with the client before the final session.